When the three major forces on the mainland were encircling and suppressing Jason and others, it was at the border between the Kamikaze Empire and the Cairo Empire. This is a scorching desert. Above the vast desert, the blazing sunshine is constantly shining down from the sky, steaming this vast desert into an oven, exuding a desire that can melt steel. High temperature. Tajadu Desert, as one of the most famous dangerous places in the mainland, has an extremely harsh environment and is inaccessible all year round. On the Stern continent, although the Tajadu Desert is not as famous as the Seven Forbidden Lands on the mainland, it is still full of dangers. It is difficult for ordinary spiritual masters to enter its depths. Even 8th-level Emperor spiritual masters will not be able to penetrate into the deepest part of it once they enter it. The core place where it is located is also in danger of falling. It was like a sharp knife that divided the two empires on the continent. Over the course of thousands of years, it allowed the two empires to reduce a large number of conflicts and casualties on this border. But at this moment, at the core of this deserted desert, an unusual figure suddenly appeared. This girl was wearing a red spiritual master's long hair, with short golden hair, and a big sword on her back. Above the desert, it was flying rapidly. This person is obviously Claire, who sneaked out from the elixir tower to look for Jason. It has been 5 days since the young master and the others killed Elder Lamandes and the others. I flew all the way from the border of the Kamikaze Empire and made a lot of marks along the way. I have also been to the Zuluo province, but the young master and the others are still not seen. Young master, where are you? Claire flew through the sky, with a trace of anxiety and worry in her heart. When the news that Jason and the others were still alive had not been sent back to the Alchemist Tower, Claire, who learned about Renault's crisis from Elder Kevlin, secretly escaped from the Alchemist Tower and went to the Kamikaze Empire. Come rescue Renault. And because when Claire learned the news from Elder Kevlin, it was too late. As a result, Claire was still on the road when Jason and the others rescued Legao in Kilo province. Until Jason and the others rescued Renault and the 1-month deadline set by Livens came, Claire was still 1 day away from the Kiro province. Seeing that she was too late to rush to the Kilo province to rescue Renault, Claire felt extremely painful in her heart. In fact, with Claire's current 8th-level peak Imperial Spiritual Master strength, even if she could rush to Kike City, she still wouldn't be able to rescue Renault from Elder Radamandes and Salskjer. However, as Jason's maid, she didn't care. She wanted to rush to Kike City and rescue Renault, just because Renault was the father of her favorite young master Jason. After learning the news of Jason's death, Claire lived a miserable life in the past few months, crying every day, like a walking corpse, losing the meaning of survival, even though she knew that with her own strength, it is difficult to save Enrino, but he still works hard for it and abandons everything. Even though he knows that he is about to face death, he is not afraid. In such a situation, when Claire was in great pain because she failed to arrive in Kurozu province in time to rescue Renault for the young master, she unexpectedly learned what Jason and the others had done in Quark City. Everything of this news completely shocked Claire, and immediately, endless joy floated in her heart. After learning that Jason was still alive, Claire ran all the way and made a lot of marks along the way, looking for Jason and others. At first, Claire and Cumberbatch and others thought the same thing. Jason will definitely return to the Alchemist Tower from the southern border of the Kamikaze Empire, but after Claire has been to Kilo province and still failed to find any trace of Jason and others, Claire understands that the young master is likely to didn't do that. Claire, who had lost her target, was a little confused for a moment. She didn't know where Jason and the others had gone. She thought hard in her heart and inquired about the situation that day. When she learned that Augustus of the Des family was not there. After Nadong died in the battle, Claire suddenly made a decision. That's heading to Empire Cairo. In her mind, since the young master has not returned to the Alchemist Tower from the southern border of the Kamikaze Empire, the most likely place to go is the Daos family of the Cairo Empire, so Claire made such a decision. Over the Tajadu Desert, Claire flew towards the Cairo Empire at high speed, with urgency in her heart. Suddenly, Claire, who was flying at a very high speed, seemed to feel something. Her speeding figure suddenly stopped, and she looked ahead with a hint of vigilance in her eyes, and then said whoosh. Her whole body fell suddenly, and her whole body was instantly submerged into the desert below, and she continued to dive underground. On the desert, the strong wind blew, and the slightly uneven sand was quickly flattened, leaving no trace left. Just a quarter of an hour after Claire entered the underground desert, two streams of light suddenly flew over from the direction of the Cairo Empire. These two streams of light exuded an astonishing emperor-level aura, as if they were two 8-year-olds. An imperial spiritual master at the pinnacle level. The two 8th-level peak imperial spiritual masters were flying past while looking at a certain instrument in their hands. They stopped suddenly near where Claire had sunk into the ground, their eyes filled with vigilance. Xiansu should be at this place. I felt a trace of spiritual power fluctuations on the instrument. But now, why is there no response? The person holding the instrument was a dark and thin man. He looked at the instrument in his hand in confusion and said something in his mouth. Speak warily. Perhaps it is some kind of spiritual beast, otherwise it is impossible that the instrument cannot detect it. Another middle-aged man urged, since the instrument does not respond, let's leave quickly. The two of us have been assigned this along the way, we need to pass through the core area of the Tajadu Desert, which is the most dangerous part of the journey. If we stop for any more, I am afraid that we will not be able to catch up with the routes of the elders of the Imperial Holy Land on other routes. What's the rush, Leverage? You have to know that we have a mission this time. If Jason and others escape from us due to carelessness, who will bear the responsibility? The thin black man said coldly. On the side, the middle-aged man couldn't help but said something primitive. The fire element in the Tajadu Desert is so strong, unless you are a spiritual beast, or have an extremely profound knowledge of the fire law, a fire power that has reached the level of a 9th-level Holy Spirit Master. Otherwise, even 9th-level intermediate Holy Spirit Masters from other departments cannot escape the detection of this spiritual power detector. Although Jason and others are strong, they are only 9th-level low-level Holy Spirit Masters. And Renaud is even more talented. He is an 8th-level Senior Emperor Spiritual Master. If they were the ones who caused the detector to fluctuate before, would the detector only fluctuate for a moment and then stop responding? The thin black man frowned and carefully explored the desert for a long time. Immediately, his right hand suddenly raised, and then fell down. Boom! A huge palm condensed and formed in the void, and slapped the canoe heavily on the desert below, causing smoke and dust to fill the sky. Een! An angry roar sounded, and the next moment, a ferocious spiritual beast with a terrifying aura rushed out from the desert and rushed towards Xiren's place. It's the 8th-level spiritual beast, the Desert Emperor Scorpion. Seeing the spiritual beast, the two people looked at each other. Knowing that they couldn't avoid it, they rushed forward and launched a fierce attack on the Desert Emperor Scorpion. Rumble! The deafening roar resounded over the desert, and the overwhelming spiritual power boiled. With the combined efforts of the two, a moment later, the Desert Emperor Scorpion was finally killed by the two of them, but the Desert Emperor Scorpion was approaching. Before their deaths, they also left several scars on their bodies. Look at your good deeds. Lover looked at the thin black man angrily. It's okay, let's go. The thin black man said nothing, turned around and flew towards the Kamikaze Empire again. This guy, there was a hint of anger in Love's eyes. Knowing the other person's character, he had no choice but to shake his head helplessly, and then followed closely. After the two left, the desert that had experienced a battle gradually returned to calm, and not far from the previous battle, a red figure rose into the sky. Master, be sure nothing happens to you. Claire murmured as she looked at the two people walking away, and then headed towards the Cairo Empire again. At the same time, in front of a mountain range nearly 100 miles outside the imperial capital of the Kamikaze Empire, 8 figures were standing coldly and proudly in the void, looking at the majestic and spectacular Holy Land of the Kamikaze Empire in the distance, their eyes filled with fighting intent. It was during these 5 days that these 8 figures, after going through untold hardships, crossed the blockade of many forces in the Kamikaze Empire and the elders of the Holy Land, and reached Jason and others in the imperial capital of the Kamikaze Empire. During these 5 days, Jason and others, who knew that the 3 major forces came from all directions to surround the tomb, carefully crossed the mountains and rivers of Yuanshu, and escaped many encirclements, and finally came to this sacred place, the capital of the Wind Empire. In order to avoid the main force of the Kamikaze Empire's encirclement and suppression team, Jason and others did not go all the way north from the Kilo province. Instead, they first thought about the eastern border of the Kamikaze Empire and flew in the direction of the Desolate Sea for a long time. It was the team that bypassed the encirclement and suppression. In order to prevent Jason and others from escaping the encirclement, the Holy Land of the Kamikaze Empire equipped each elder with spiritual power detectors. However, what Cumberbatch and the others did not calculate was that Jason was a master of elixirs. Ordinary spiritual masters, even 9th-level intermediate spiritual masters, cannot avoid the detection of this detector. However, as a 9th-level elixir master, Jason has many ways to make everyone detect the detector. The reaction is now at a minimum, and coupled with the strong strength of everyone, it is not impossible to avoid the detector as long as you are smart. The main peak of the Kamikaze Emperor's Holy Land is majestic, and majestic it fills people with awe and reverence. In a valley on the mountainside of the main peak, a luxurious and majestic city stands. It is the city built by the holy sons of the Holy Land. It is like a city in the sky with the tower of the spiritual medicine master. It is only recognized in the Holy Land. Only the geniuses who have been promoted to the rank of holy hands can enter and cultivate piting. At this moment, it is the afternoon, the most comfortable moment of the day, in the holy city. Many saints are gathered there at the moment, exchanging experiences of cultivating peridium with each other, and inquiring about news. Have you heard that our elder Salskjer from the Holy Land was killed in Kike City in the Kilo province by Jason and others from the Alchemist Tower not long ago? Now our Kamikaze Emperor together with the powerful men from the 3 major forces, Kaishi, Shui, and Spiritual Master Pagoda, Jean has set out to encircle and suppress them. A saintly hand wearing a red spiritual master's robe spoke out. I have also heard that not only Elder Salskjer from our Holy Land, but also Elder Radamandes from the Spiritual Master Tower was killed in Najik City. You know, Radamandes, the Elder, is a 9th-level intermediate saint. He was also killed by Jason and the others. 6 days ago, the Holy Lord summoned many elders of our Holy Land at the Holy Table, just for that matter. But as for Jason and others, didn't they hear that they were killed in the forbidden area of the 7-star sea as early as the Great Beijiao? Why didn't they die? Yes, and I heard about this. It's incredible that they are all saints who have advanced to the 9th level. I heard that Jason and others were highly valued by the Atkinson Tower Master of the Spiritual Master Tower. The strength of the genius disciple of the Spiritual Medicine Master Pagoda, Heiying, is really awe-inspiring. Many of the disciples present, Heiying, are all the sons of the Kamikaze Emperor, and all of them are arrogant. The talented and beautiful people, but when they think of what Jason and the others did in Kike City, everyone is in awe of UNB, claiming that they cannot do such sensational things like them. Come. Humph, Jason is nothing. Our Master Paul and Jing are the masters. Then Jason and the others are just criticizing outside. If they show up in Master Paul, they are worthy of comparison. Master Paul, with just one piece of ash, he can make them pee and kneel down and beg for mercy. Now that the holy lords of our Holy Land have been dispatched, Jason and the others have no choice but to die. At this moment, 2 cold voices sounded and appeared in the ears of all the holy sons. Everyone immediately looked up and saw that not far away, several figures exuding astonishing auras were slowly walking towards the crowd. The leader was a young man wearing a green robe. There was a trace of pride between his eyebrows, which made people laugh. Hard to stare at. Everyone who was talking about these people immediately shut up when they saw these people. The leading young man was none other than Paul, the 8th level peak imperial spiritual master of the Kamikaze Emperor's first son. If the previous words were passed down, if it reaches his ears, it will inevitably make him unhappy. In the Holy Land, everything is virtual, and only strength is eternal. As the Holy Son of the Emperor, I think if you work hard and think about how to improve your strength, here chatting will always make progress. Paul looked at the people in the soup coldly, said with an indifferent tone, and then walked straight into the main hall. Outside the main hall of the Holy Sun in the Holy Land of the Kamikaze Emperor, countless holy hands were talking about it. In the distant sky, mortal Tao stood proudly in the void, looking coldly at the holy city on the mountainside. This is the Holy Land of Emperor Kamikaze, right? The city in the middle of the mountain peak should be the holy city of Emperor Kamikaze. All the saints in the Holy Land are cultivators. With a sneer on the lips of Sen and others, the 8 people looked at each other, and immediately whoosh. 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 8 streams of light, like lightning, flew directly towards the holy city, and then towards the holy city. The tombs in the city are rising and falling. On the square in front of the Holy Sun's hall in the holy city, countless holy hands were discussing in low voices, and suddenly there was a bang one by one. Several figures containing terrifying pressure descended from the sky and landed directly on the square. The strong aura immediately attracted the attention of all the saints in Tang. These are 8 figures wearing spiritual master robes of different colors. Each one of them exudes an extremely terrifying salty pressure, which makes many of the saints present who are 8th level Emperor spiritual masters feel deep in their hearts. I felt an overwhelming sense of fear everywhere. Who are they? Seeing these 8 people, many people in the soup screamed. It was obvious that these people who appeared suddenly, and almost everyone present, had never met before. Saw it in the Holy Land. You are like, suddenly, the mortals among the many saints were shaken all over, with Juju and Cyan disaster on their faces, Nuna's cuffs and claws, and he took 2 steps back, his eyes flashing. Full of fear, their lips trembled and they wanted to say something, but their eyes widen. Time flies, and they can't tell. This mortal Murray is the top being in the hands of the Kamikaze Emperor. He also participated in the Great Sect, so he is naturally quite familiar with Jason and others. Who are these 8 people? Why are Master Murray so surprised when they see them? Yes, except for 2 of these 8 people, the other 6 look young. Where are they? Come on, why have I never seen it in the Holy Land? On the broadside of the Holy Sun's hall, many holy sons were talking and chattering, guessing about the origins of Jason and the others. Now, they have not expected that a shocking disaster is about to come at this moment. Are you the holy sons of Emperor Kamikaze? Facing the many young disciples in front of him, Cassinus emerged from the crowd with a stern look on his lips. You don't look like much either. What? You all look so weak. Who are you? Cassinus's words immediately filled some hot-tempered saints with anger, and they suddenly stepped forward to speak out. They are all aggressive and ready to fight if they disagree. Who are we? The people who kill you. Cassinus disdained to speak. Looking for death. Those holy hands suddenly became furious and shouted out loud, but before he could finish his words, buzz. A terrifying coercion descended on the world, and a powerful breath of spiritual power descended. He rushed out from Cassinus's body and struck the saints at the front. Pung! The terrible sound of hitting the foe sounded almost at the same time. Those holy hands had no time to resist, and they were hit by the roots. The whole person was thrown away like a rag bag, and the mouth was full of laughter. Lian Jijun sprayed blood and hit the square not far away. Rocks flew and the ground cracked, terrifying cracks spread, and a huge pit suddenly appeared on the ground. The few Kenyan lay at the bottom of the pit, vomiting blood, and looked at Cassinusi's eyes were filled with a horrified expression. They are Jason and the others. Until then, Murray and the others finally came to their senses and exclaimed. What? It's them? Murray's words immediately caused the expressions of many saints in the soup to change drastically. Each one of them kept retreating, with a look in their eyes. Black hair, black eyes, carrying a heavy sword, exactly the same as Jason's description. Someone looked at Jason and screamed in surprise as he suddenly realized. Long black and white hair, are you Cassinus? Some people also laid their eyes on Cassinus and opened their mouths. You, aren't you, in the Gilua province? Now you should be shocked by the Holy Lord and the others. Who are they? The strong alarm screamed, making many of the saints in Tang turn pale with fright. The actions of Jason and others in the Kilo province have already made their image like devils in the minds of these saints, full of fear. In Kilo province? Haha, are you Kamikaze Emperor only allowed to encircle and suppress us, but not allowed to fight in? Cassinus's eyes were filled with murderous intent, and he spoke with confidence. He said loudly, Today, all of you will die, and no one will survive. As soon as the words fell, Cassinus took action boldly, and a long weapon emitting black and white light suddenly appeared in his hand. The sword, with an astonishing aura constantly dispersing from it, was aimed at the crowd in front, and it was slashed with one sword. Boom! A terrible coercion instantly enveloped the world. Under Cassinus's sword, the entire void in front of him completely turned into a large flow of particles, and the space was shattered into pieces. The dozen or so divine sons of the divine Wind Emperor in front of him were unable to dodge for a moment, and were completely enveloped by this terrifying power. The eyes of the more than 10 holy sons suddenly revealed the 8th level Emperor's spiritual power was constantly being released, trying to avoid Cassinus's terrifying attack, but it was useless. Among them, those divine sons of the divine Wind Emperor who were 8th level, low level, and intermediate level Emperor spiritual masters were like ants, unable to resist at all, and were directly hit. Pung! 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 The astonishing aura dispersed, and without any suspense, under Cassinus's vigorous sword, the more than 10 holy sons of the Kamikaze Emperor exploded one by one. Come on, the mouth of the crab turned into a puff of blood. This, Cassinus's fierce performance immediately shocked everyone else in the soup. The next leader one by one escape. The hundreds of saints' sons under the jurisdiction of Guangzhou, all with expressions in their eyes, and Na Kong suddenly rose into the sky one by one, like disturbed locusts, flying in all directions. For a while, the entire Holy Land and Holy City was in chaos. I said, Today, none of you can escape. On the square, looking at the holy suns flying across the sky, Cassinus made a cold voice. Buzz. 2 unique spiritual power fluctuations, one white and one black, instantly dispersed from his body, covering a distance of thousands of meters around him, forming a huge spherical space, in which all the fleeing saints were trapped in it. This is the realm of light and darkness obtained by Cassinus, a holy spiritual master of both light and dark elements. Ah! After being shrouded by the demons of Cassinus' light and darkness, the hundreds of saints who were enveloped all let out painful screams, and there were streaks of white blood. Light and black mist entwined and emerged on the bodies of these saints. They continued to release the emperor-level spiritual power in their bodies, trying to resist the invasion of this terrifying power. But it's useless. Cassinus, who has been promoted to the 9th level low-level holy spiritual master, and his strength is comparable to the ordinary 9th level intermediate holy spiritual master, how can he be the 8th level low-level and intermediate emperors like them? The disciples of the spiritual master were able to withstand the terrifying spiritual power of light and darkness, which quickly corroded countless wounds on their bodies, and they all let out painful howls from their mouths. See? Cassinus said coldly, without any mercy in his eyes, and swung the long sword in his hand down mercilessly. Boom! 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 The endless spiritual power was boiling. Under Cassinus' attack, the saints were killed one by one, and a large amount of blood and corpses fell from the sky. It fell everywhere in the holy city, dyeing the holy city red and full of fishy smell. Cassinus, seeing Cassinus's fishy and bloody appearance, below, Jason and the others who were about to take action were stunned. Jason and the others boasted that they were not particularly kind people, and this time they came to the kamikaze emperor to take advantage of the situation. The backbone of the Holy Land, including the divine Lord Bachi and others, were all gone with the kamikaze emperor's sword, and they were massacred. However, Cassinus's shocking and hurried attack was enough to kill them all. The killing method still shocked Jason and others. In Jason's original plan, they came this time to prepare to kill some of the top saints of the kamikaze emperor. Last time, those geniuses who participated in the Continental Genius Trial, as well as the resisting Holy Sons, taught the kamikaze emperor an unforgettable lesson. As for the other Holy Sons, if not resistance and only focused on escaping, Jason and the others were not prepared to attack. Although Jason also understood in his heart that there was no kindness or mercy between the two Guahuijian, and it was often either you or my king, but in Jason's heart, he still couldn't bring himself to kill some talented disciples who had no power to fight back under Jingji. Just like in Kike City, the nearly 100 people who participated in Dirk at the Lei family's banquet, the patriarchs from the kamikaze emperor's force, Jason and the others, only shot and killed nearly 50 patriarchs who wanted to resist them. As for the remaining half of the clan leaders, did not take action and just ran away blindly. Jason and the others did not rush to kill them all, but let the other party live. This is why Jason and the others did not break into the kamikaze emperor. The reason why the disciples came directly to the holy city directly from the lowest level of the Holy Land was because they did not want to kill some unrelated people, even though the other party was the kamikaze emperor. JJ. In the final analysis, Jason and the others did not treat others as ants like other holy spiritual masters. But now, Cassinus's merciless attack, but it completely exceeded Jason's expectations and violated Jason's original intention. Cassinus, what are you doing? Jason and others were just shocked for a moment and then came back to their senses. However, at this moment, among the nearly 100 kamikaze emperors who were originally around the square, except for a few, they responded the fastest. Except for the very few Holy Sons who rushed out of the leader in time, none of the remaining Holy Sons were left. The fresh blood gathered together everywhere in the square and became a river of blood. The sky, Cassinus was trembling slightly. He stared blankly at the many objects on the ground and other places in the holy city. Seeing this scene, the many saints were so frightened that they fled in all directions. There was an inexplicable emotion in his eyes. Jason, everyone, I'm sorry, forgive me for being rude. Cassinus turned his head and murmured in his mouth. What surfaced from the depths of his eyes was endless sadness. Everyone felt it when they saw Cassinus's eyes. The sadness in Cassinus's heart, what kind of eyes he has, no one thought that Cassinus, who was so strong in the past and would not frown even when faced with great difficulties, would actually there will be such a weak expression of emotion. Cassinus, what's wrong with you? Seeing Cassinus's appearance, there was no blame on Jason's face, but only concern. As a master of elixirs, he could naturally see that Cassinus was in a very bad state. I will talk to you about this matter after I have dealt with the matter here. What's going on? At this moment, a loud shout suddenly came from the Holy Sons' hall. Immediately, more than a dozen figures with amazing auras flying out of them. Among the more than 10 people, the leader was Paul, the first Holy Son of the Kamikaze Empire, and some of the others were also strong men in the Holy Land, and a few of them were staff members of the Holy Sons' hall. These people were more powerful than the previous group of disciples. They are quite powerful. Among them, excluding Paul, 2 of them are 8th level peak Emperor spiritual masters, and the rest are mostly 8th level advanced Emperor spiritual masters. As soon as Ruchuan Paul and others appeared, they landed on the square. After seeing the scene of rivers of blood in the square, the faces of everyone in their group changed. In all their years in the Holy Land, this was the first time they saw someone dare to enter their Holy Land and slaughter their Holy Son in the Holy Land. In horror, Paul and others instantly looked at Jason and others. After seeing the appearance of Jason and others, the eyes of Paul, the first son of the Kamikaze Empire, were filled with horror, and he exclaimed, "Is it you, Paul?" Before Jason and the others could speak, in the sky, Cassian's eyes were full of murderous intent, and he let out a cold drink. The next moment, he took action again. Boom! The terrible coercion shook the 9 heavens and 10 earth. The tyrannical energy dispersed, and the void directly collapsed layer by layer, destroyed, and enveloped Paul and others. "Ah, break it for me." The Holy Emperor of the Wood Emperor is revered by heaven and earth. One of the mysteries of fire is to burn all things. The universe and the sword will destroy the world. A series of shocking roars echoed in the world. A moment rang out. Although Paul and others were only 8th level peak Imperial spiritual masters, and there was a certain gap between them and Wayne's 9th level low-level spiritual masters, as the top geniuses of the Kamikaze Empire, they also had the ability to sign up. Even though it was not as good as Cassian's, and it was not like the many holy sons before, who were killed in an instant without any ability to fight back. For a moment, endless spiritual power boiled, and terrifying spiritual power was released from the hands of Paul and others, directly colliding with Cassian's attack. Boom! The monstrous spiritual power surged, and the entire void collapsed. A huge black hole loomed in the void, showing a large amount of particle turbulence. Under Cassian's terrifying attack, Paul and others, the attack was instantly wiped out, and the attack performed by Cassian also trembled for a while, then exploded and turned into void. Bang! 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 In the void above the Holy Son's Hall, the bodies of Paul and more than a dozen people were shaking violently, falling heavily, and blood flowed from their bodies. During the violent explosion, the bodies of more than 10 people burst out with blood. 2 of them were the sons of 8th level intermediate emperor spiritual masters, and they turned into a cloud of blood mist, while Paul and others also. It's not a good life. Although they survived, everyone was seriously injured and their bodies were torn apart. Under the full blow of Cassian, Paul and more than 10 people were seriously injured, which was terrible. On the opposite side, Cassian also took a heavy step back, his face a little pale. The joint attack by Paul and others also caused the spiritual power in his body to surge. Yes, you have some strength. You are indeed the #1 genius in the Kamikaze Empire. However, no matter how talented you are, you will die today. Cassian said coldly, his eyes full of murderous intent, and the endless energy in his body. The spiritual power is boiling, and he will take action again. At this moment, who is it, come to my Kamikaze Empire, to run wild? A roar filled with boundless resentment came from the top of the main peak. The next moment, an aura containing boundless coercion flashed from the top of the main peak. Flying down, the terrifying energy instantly enveloped Jason and the others present. The eyes of Ruchuan's terrifying figure first fell on all the disciples in the holy city. After seeing the corpses of the Holy Son that had fallen in various places in the holy city, and the blood that gathered into rivers, the figure suddenly let out a roar. Who is it? Who is it that came to my Kamikaze Empire to run wild and kill my Holy Son of Kamikaze Empire? I want you to die. The figure roared, and his eyes suddenly fell on Jason and the others. In the void, the 2 sides looked at each other. They were stunned for a moment. The next moment, endless murderous intent appeared in the eyes of both sides. It's you, old man. It's you, Jason, Blue Moon, Goose and Cassian. The 2 sides faced each other, coldly in the void, their eyes full of indifference. This terrifying figure is none other than Lord Oldman from the Holy Land, sent by Holy Lord Cumberbatch to stay behind. Back in the land where geniuses were tested on the mainland, the genius team of the Kamikaze Empire was led by the Holy Land Venerable of the Kamikaze Empire, the 9th level intermediate Holy Spirit Master Alderman. Naturally, the two sides had met, and no one could forget that time. Everything that happened on the mainland where geniuses are tested. Elder Waterfield, Deputy Tower Master Gates, today, I, Jason, will avenge you. Looking at Oldman, Jason made a cold sound in his mouth. Jason, Oldman asked me to come. However, before Jason and others could fly forward, Cassinus suddenly let out an angry roar in the sky, and his eyes instantly turned blood red. Came in front of Oldman. Oderman, do you remember Adams from the Roland family? At this moment, Cassinus looked crazy, like a madman. In the void, Cassinus looked crazy, and his red and cold eyes fell on Lord Oldman of the Kamikaze Empire without a trace of emotion. What was revealed in those eyes was endless murderous intent and hatred. Adams of the Roland family. On the other side, Oldman was startled at first, and then looked at Cassinus with a hint of horror in his eyes. Cassinus, what do you mean, his? Jean Lengren made a sound. Not only Oldman, but also some of the Holy Land saints and staff present, and even Wayne's faces showed surprise after hearing what Cassinus said. It was obvious that, this Roland family and Adams, they have all heard of it. What do you mean? Haha. Cassinus stared at Oldman with his bloodthirsty, red eyes, and made a sad and miserable hoarse voice from his mouth. Adams, it's my grandfather, Alvarez, it's my father. 22 years ago, that night, I will never forget, Oldman, what the elders and disciples of the Holy Land you led did to our family. From then on, the meaning of my existence, just to come back for revenge, this is the only belief in my heart for the past 22 years. Today is the day I come back for revenge? Cassinus looked at Oldman with a crazy expression, his face ferocious. What? Adams, you are your grandfather and Alvarez is your father? Are you the little beast who escaped from the Roland family back then? Oldman had a look of shock on his face. I didn't expect that. We thought you died in the Wanling Mountains, but we didn't expect that you are still alive, and you also entered the Spirit Medicine Master Tower and became the core disciple of the Spirit Medicine Master Tower. Really what? This Spirit Medicine Master Tower? Cassinus turned out to be a descendant of the Roland family of our Kamikaze Empire. The Roland family was not the number one of our Kamikaze Empire when they were exterminated overnight and no one was left alive 22 years ago. Family? The annihilation of the Roland family shocked the Empire. Unexpectedly, it was Oldman Zuanji who led our Holy Land elders and disciples to do it. Indeed, now that I think about it, besides the Holy Land, which other force is so powerful that it can completely destroy the Roland family, the first family in the Kamikaze Empire at the time? You know, the original Roland family, Chief Alvarez and Supreme Elder Adams, were both 9. He is a low-level Holy Spirit Master, and Patriarch Alvarez, when he was young, was known as the number 1 genius of our Kamikaze Empire. In the Holy City, many cars flew by in the distance, and there was no approaching Holy Spirit. The children, after hearing what Cassinus said, their faces were full of shock and their mouths uttered surprise. Wayne, what is this Roland family that Cassinus mentioned? In the sky, Jason and others looked at Cassinus' excited look and the discussions of many saints in the distance. Jason couldn't help but ask Wayne on the side. For a moment, Renaud, Lanuigusan and others present also all focused on Wayne. Caswall and the others, as the top geniuses of the major forces, were the same as Cassinus. They seemed to remember what happened in the Kamikaze Empire back then, but because they were still young back then, they have no memory of the specific events. Wayne couldn't help but sigh when he heard the questions from Jason and others. Angry, he looked at Cassinus complicatedly. If Cassinus is really a descendant of the Roland family of the Kamikaze Empire, then his survival is really a miracle. Immediately, Wayne slowly started telling. 22 years ago, the Kamikaze Empire did have a Roland family. This Roland family was known as the first family in the Kamikaze Empire. In terms of status, it was equivalent to Caswall and Yurgura's family in the Salem Empire. At that time I was only 34 or 5 years old. I had just been promoted to the 8th level of the peak Imperial Spiritual Master. I could be regarded as unparalleled in talent and one of the top geniuses in the Cairo Empire. There were very few people who admired me. Jason and others, people couldn't help but nod. Even though everyone is now a 9th level Holy Spirit Master, in terms of talent, the Emperor Spiritual Master who has advanced to the peak of the 8th level at the age of 34 or 5 can definitely be regarded as a person with amazing talents and stunning genius. You know, except for Jason and Lanuigusan, who are rare perverts in the world, like Cassinus, Caswall, and Edmes, they are the top geniuses of the major forces. The 8th-level peak Imperial Spiritual Masters who were promoted in 2008, and their ages are similar to Wayne back then, they are both in their 30s. Moreover, they have received a lot of training in the major forces. In terms of talent, they are known as the top geniuses of the major forces, but they may not be as amazing as Wayne. And Wayne's Holy Spirit Master, who advanced to the 9th level, also relied entirely on himself. Excluding the 10 years when he lost his strength, the time it took Wayne to advance from the peak of the 8th level to the low level of the 9th level was less than 10 years. The reason why Caswall and the others were able to advance to the 9th level of Holy Spirit Master so quickly was all because of Jason. But how many 9th level Holy Spirit Masters are there on the entire continent? On average, only one appears in the entire continent in the past 1,000 years, and most of them are only 9th level low-level elixir Saint Masters, which is enough to show their scarcity. Therefore, without Jason, and without the 9th level Holy Spiritual Elixir prepared by Jason, they still don't know how many years it would take them to advance from the 8th level Peak Emperor Spiritual Master to the 9th level Holy Spirit Master. However, when I was arrogant back then, I had great admiration for one person on the mainland, and that was Alvarez of the Roland family. 20 years ago, he was about the same age as me, but I was advancing to the 8th level. At the peak of his Imperial Spiritual Master, he became a 9th level low-level Holy Master. He was known as the #1 genius in the Kamikaze Empire and was a shining figure in the entire continent. Except for Alvarez, the Roland family back then had Alvarez's grandfather, Adams, was also a 9th level low-level Holy Spirit Master. 2 generations of the same family, father and son, were dual Saint Masters, which made the Roland family very popular in the Kamikaze Empire. But one night 22 years ago, something happened that shocked the entire continent, that is, the Roland family, the first family in the Kamikaze Empire, was attacked when they left the imperial capital to worship their ancestors and hold a clan meeting in their hometown. One night, blood flowed like a river. All the members of the Roland family were killed, from the family elders to the infants who were several months old. Even Adams and Alvarez were all killed in that night. It is said that that night the sounds of fighting and roaring continued until dawn. Moreover, not only the children of the Roland family who participated in the clan meeting, but also the members of the Roland family left in the imperial capital, as well as the members of the side sects scattered throughout the empire, also heard at the same time they were attacked, and no one survived. No one survived, the entire family was wiped out, and all members were killed, including the aide listening to Wayne's story. Jason and others were shocked. This is a rare massacre of a family in the history of the mainland. If it were in a war era, let alone a clan, even a country would not cause much of a sensation. But in such a peaceful era, Roland, the tragedy of the family's annihilation, shocked the entire continent. What's more, the Roland family is the first family worthy of the Kamikaze Emperor. Just when everyone thought that the Kamikaze Empire was bound to experience a bloody chaos, the Roland family, something surprising and puzzling happened. After the massacre of the Roland family, the emperors of the Kamikaze Empire, including the Holy Land of the Empire, did not make any sound or move. In this way, an originally huge family completely disappeared from history. In the long history, it became a mystery on the mainland. In fact, at that time, many people suspected that it was the work of the Kamikaze Empire royal family and the Holy Land. Otherwise, no matter which force, it would be impossible to change such a case overnight. A famous first family of the Kamikaze Empire was completely wiped out, and no one survived. Now listening to what Cassinus said, there is no doubt that what happened back then was done by the Holy Land of the Kamikaze Empire. After hearing what Wayne said, after saying that, everyone present fell silent and looked at Cassinus with complicated eyes. None of them thought that in the heart of Foncinus, he would actually bear such a blood feud, and the entire family was wiped out. What a deep hatred this was. Thinking back to the crazy appearance of Foncinus before, everyone in their hearts was ran. To put it bluntly, why did Cassinus behave like this? In the void, Cassinus and Oldman looked at each other in cold opposition. Oldman, you didn't expect that? You know, I was only 13 years old back then, and my strength was only level 3. A level 3 spiritual master, in the Wanling Mountains where even Emperor spiritual masters are in danger, you know, what have I experienced? It took me a whole year to cross the Wanling Mountains and escape your pursuit. I believe that God allowed me to escape from the Wanling Mountains and create such a miracle is what makes me come back for revenge. So today, just die for me. Cassinus looked ferocious, roared in his mouth, and a terrible aura suddenly emitted from his body, and his whole body suddenly he rushed towards Oldman's location. Boom! The terrifying aura spread across the sky and the earth. In the void, the spiritual power of light and darkness completely boiled under the anger of Cassinus. The black and white colors of the long sword in Cassinus's hand flowed, exuding a monstrous aura, aimed at Oldman's location, and slashed with his sword. A bright sword light connected the heaven and the earth, tore apart the heaven and the earth. The terrifying sword light came in front of Oldman in an instant. The sky curtain was torn apart easily like cloth, revealing the dark space cracks. Huh, just you want to kill me today? Aoyaya sneered. Thousands of green lights suddenly bloomed from his body, and countless tiny wind whirlpools appeared around his body. The void was trembling, revealing tiny black cracks. Countless wind whirlpools exuded terrifying auras, and condensed into a huge wind blade in front of Oldman, which slammed into the black and white sword light. Boom! In the huge roar, the terrifying spiritual energy spread out in the void like a gunpowder barrel exploding. The tyrannical chi machine swept across the invincible, and the layers of the void collapsed, just like the end of the world. Amidst the roar, both Cassinus and Oldman flew away fiercely, their faces pale. In the previous fight, the two were evenly matched, and neither one took advantage. The information is indeed true, Cassinus. I didn't expect that you, a 9th-level low-level Holy Spirit Master, would have such powerful strength. Oldman said coldly, taking advantage of being struck by this terrifying spirit. The moment the power surged, the whole person turned into a stream of light and swept away towards the imperial capital. Enemy attack at the same time, Oldman let out a thunderous roar. This roar, like thunder clouds, spread in the void like summoning something, resounding throughout the whole world. In the Kilo province, even Elder Radamandes of the Spiritual Master Tower fell. On the opponent's side, Oldman, who is also a 9th-level intermediate Holy Spirit Master, is not an idiot. Naturally, he will not be stupid enough to fight with Cassinus and others. However, before Oldman can fly far, the figure exuding a terrifying aura appeared in front of Oldman like lightning, blocking Oldman's way. His eyes were as blazing as the scorching sun, and the black épée in his hand danced, and it fell towards Oldman in an instant. Man! Boom! The two of them fought instantly and flew away. It's you, Jason! Oldman gritted his teeth, his long green hair flying in the air, and he looked at Jason with cold eyes. Whoosh! Dian! Whoosh! At the same time, Wayne and Lan Yu Gusen also flew over quickly. The three of them formed a corner and surrounded the Oldman. Jason, this Oldman left behind. Let me kill you. Not far away, Cassinus flew over like lightning, making an angry voice from his mouth. As soon as he arrived, without any hesitation, he took action violently, and the spiritual power of both light and dark elements was moved by it. To the extreme, he blasted at Oldman desperately. Damn it! Oldman shouted angrily, the cyan light flashed in his eyes, endless wind spiritual power lingered around him, and he also rushed towards Cassinus. In the void, the two people struck like lightning. Together. Boom! Endless spiritual energy boils. The two of them are like two demon gods, constantly colliding in the void. The layers of void are collapsing. At this moment, Cassinus looks like a mad devil, with a crazy expression and red eyes, desperately attacking Oldman. And Oldman, who was surrounded by the three Jasons, obviously knew that it would be impossible for him to escape now. His eyes were full of coldness, he met Cassinus fiercely. Two blurry remnants collided continuously in the sky. The spiritual power of the light and dark systems, and the spiritual power of the wind system exuding cyan light, transformed into various colors of light in the sky. Two figures walked through it, splattering with blood. This was a scene like the end of the world. Cassinus took action desperately, and Oldman also fought back mercilessly, and the two of them were instantly, there were a lot of wounds. Boom! The two fought fiercely again, with terrible spiritual energy boiling, and both of them retreated violently. After the previous brief battle, Cassinus and Oldman both had a large number of wounds. The two of them were in ragged clothes, dripping with blood, and looked extremely ferocious. Jason and the others surrounded the two of them to prevent Oldman from escaping. Oldman, today is the day you die. Cassinus wiped away the blood from the corner of his mouth and looked at Oldman with murderous intent in his eyes. In the void, Oldman gasped heavily and immediately looked at Jason and the others around him. He was surrounded by Jason and others, but there was not much panic on his face, and he sneered and said, Cassinus, do you think you can kill me today? This is the imperial capital and holy land of our kamikaze empire. Do you think just a few of you can run wild in this imperial capital? If this is the case, how can our kamikaze empire become one of the four great empires on the mainland, standing for thousands of years and becoming immortal? Oldman spoke coldly, his expression full of calm. As his words fell, several extremely terrifying chi suddenly rose up in the imperial capital 100 miles away. These were several extremely terrifying chi emanating from his body. The figure with a terrifying aura of spiritual power, the energy on his body was like billowing smoke, rushing into the sky. Who is running wild in our kamikaze empire? The terrible roar, like thunder, rumbled from the distant sky, bringing endless anger and destroying the world. And when Jason and others were fighting in the holy land of the kamikaze empire in a certain area in the southern part of the Kiro province of the kamikaze empire, powerful men from the kamikaze empire, the spiritual master tower, and the Cairo empire are constantly narrowing the encirclement, searching for Jason and others. Previously, because of Jason and others, people took action, and the city of Kike was almost reduced to ruins. Three towering beings exuding a terrifying aura were looking at Salskjar's half-remaining body. These three people were the first to take the lead. The three masters of the Atkinson Tower of the Spiritual Master Tower, the Holy Master Cumberbatch of the Kamikaze Empire, and the Holy Master Strier of the Cairo Empire gathered together in Kike City. At this moment, the three of them were looking at Elder Salskjar at their feet. When Jason and the others escaped into Jedi number 9 in the forbidden area of the Seven-Star Sea, we all thought they were dead, but we didn't expect that not only did they come out alive, but they also advanced to the 9th level. Holy Spirit Master. Holy Lord Cumberbatch of the Kamikaze Empire couldn't help but grit his teeth. Yes, that Jedi number 9 is the most dangerous Jedi in the Seven-Star Sea forbidden area. Back then, in order to explore this Jedi number 9, at least thousands of strong men on the mainland died there, and even 2 9th-level intermediate holy spirits. The Master also fell into it, and no one survived, but I didn't expect that Jason and the others could escape from it. Holy Lord Strayer also frowned. Seeing that they have all advanced to the 9th level of low-level Holy Spirit Masters in just a few months, and their strength has improved so much, it seems that there must be something unknown among these 9th-level Jedi. They got it. Okay, no matter what Jason and the others got, the talents they have shown now have seriously threatened our plan to unify the continent, and they must die. Atkinson, the Tower Master, spoke coldly. I don't know where these little things have fled to. So many powerful men from our three major forces have been searching in this area for so many days, but they haven't found him yet. Seeing that our three major forces, the teams, are about to rendezvous. If Jason and the others had already passed the southern border of your kamikaze empire and returned to the Alchemist Tower, it would be troublesome. Impossible, the strong men of my Alchemist Tower, after getting the news, they searched all the way from the central part of the continent, and their actions were extremely strict. Unless Jason and others were 9th-level advanced Holy Spirit Masters, it would be impossible for such a large group of people to escape the powerful men of our Spiritual Master Tower. Search. Atkinson, the Master of the Spiritual Master Tower, said firmly. It has been 5 or 6 days since the departure of the three major forces. Countless strong men from the three major forces have surrounded them from 3 aspects, narrowed the encirclement, and gathered in the middle of the Kamikaze Empire. Now, the teams of the 3 major forces are about to gather together, but still no sign of Jason and others, which made Atkinson and others extremely confused and anxious. Just as these 3 people were talking to each other, Holy Lord Cumberbatch of the Kamikaze Empire suddenly seemed to sense something. He frowned, and a communication stone suddenly appeared in his hand. The communication stone, at this moment it was flashing red light on and off. Red promotion message? Could it be that Jason and others have been found? After seeing the red light emitting from the communication stone in Cumberbatch's hand, the masters of Atkinson Tower and Strayer Tower couldn't help but frown. Make a sound. The communication stone lights up red, indicating that the message is extremely urgent. Generally, there is nothing important. The subordinates below will not send red emergency messages. It should be so. Let me just say that no matter how strong Jason and the others are, under the encirclement and suppression of our 3 major forces, he will be unable to fly even if he has wings. Holy Lord Cumberbatch smiled, and at the same time, spiritual consciousness seeped into the communication stone towel. What? However, after he felt the message in the communication stone, his eyes suddenly widened, the smile on his face instantly froze, and an extremely horrified look appeared in his eyes. Cumberbatch, what happened? Atkinson Tower Master said coldly. Ah. Cumberbatch couldn't help but let out an angry roar, and a terrifying wave of air instantly spread out from his body and filled the room. Boom! Under Cumberbatch's roar, the entire stone room collapsed and turned into a pile of powder and rubble. His eyes were red, filled with endless anger. Atkinson, Strayer, Jason and the others have been found, and are now killing the holy sons of my Kamikaze Empire in the holy land of our Kamikaze Empire. What? Atkinson and Strayer both showed shock in their eyes. Is this news true? Is it still false? Cumberbatch roared, damn it, then Jason and the others are so abominable, I will cut them into pieces. Cumberbatch roared, and then he suddenly stepped out in the direction of the holy land of the Empire, and a sharp burst of spiritual power suddenly passed through the space. Fluctuating, Cumberbatch's towering and majestic figure had disappeared into the void the next moment. Let's go, too. Atkinson and Strayer looked at each other with solemn eyes. They took one step and disappeared into the void in an instant. In the sky where the holy land of the Kamikaze Empire is located, endless spiritual energy boils. Several figures exuding a terrifying aura rumbled over from the distant imperial capital, roaring with anger. The billowing aura of spiritual power, like the essence of wolf smoke, towers into the sky, giving people endless oppression. These are the 5 figures exuding astonishing spiritual power. The rich spiritual power is like substance, transforming into terrifying and brilliant brilliance, especially the 2 leaders, wearing luxurious spiritual master robes, starry eyes and sword eyebrows, eyes cold and filled with endless anger. It rumbled towards Jason and the others. After feeling the aura emanating from these people, over the Holy Land, the expressions of Jason and others suddenly changed. Judging from the auras emanating from these 5 people, the 2 leading people turned out to be 2 9th-level intermediate Holy Spirit Masters, and the 3 people following them turned out to be 9th-level low-level Holy Spirit Masters. What's the deal? There are so many 9th-level Holy Spirit Masters in the Kamikaze Empire, and 2 of them are 9th-level intermediate Holy Spirit Masters? Jason was surprised. According to their intelligence, the Kamikaze Empire's Holy Land, all the elders have followed Holy Lord Cumberbatch of the Kamikaze Empire to the Kilo province to encircle and suppress themselves. How come there are so many strong men in the Kamikaze Empire? The 9th-level intermediate Holy Spirit Master is not like the 8th-level peak Imperial Spirit Master, which is definitely the most peak combat power on the continent. The number of each force is not large, and these few people who suddenly appeared made Jason everyone else couldn't help but feel frightened and felt something was wrong. This case is not to say that Jason is afraid of these people, but that the sudden appearance of these few people will inevitably affect Jason's original plan. Haha, Jason, Cassinus, do you think you are invincible after killing Elder Radamandes and Elder Salskjaer? You actually dare to come to the Holy Land of our Kamikaze Empire and run wild. You are simply ignorant of life and death. Today, I want all of you to die here regardless of whether you come back or not. Oldman suddenly smiled wildly when he saw the discolored faces of Jason and others. Immediately, Oldman's eyes fell on the 5 streams of light shooting from the distance again, and he let out a rumble of shouts. Moy Rachel, you are finally here. This group of people is here. In Kike City, the Empire's Kilo province, they killed Elder Taladamandes, the spiritual master, Elder Salskjaer of the Empire, Jason and others who destroyed the Decker family. Now they dare to kill in the Holy Land of our Empire. They simply don't take our Kamikaze Empire seriously at all. Everyone, let's work together to keep them here and let them know that our Kamikaze Empire is not easy to mess with. Looking at the 5 people flying quickly from the Imperial capital, Oldman couldn't help but drink coldly. It turned out to be them. I heard that Holy Lord Cumberbatch was leading countless powerful men from the Holy Land to encircle and suppress them in Kilo province, but I didn't expect that they would appear here and dare to take action against the Holy Land of the Empire. They were so bold that they wouldn't attack us. The Kamikaze Empire takes it seriously. If we don't kill them here today, how can the Kamikaze Empire gain a foothold on the mainland? This time, we must make sure they never come back. Hearing Oldman shout, far away here, the 5 figures flying over quickly also let out rumbling shouts. The terrifying spiritual power was overwhelming, and the killing intent in the 5 people was boiling, and they showed their sharpness towards Jason and the others. Jason, these people are likely to be the royal guardians of the Kamikaze Empire. Seeing these people, Francois immediately flew forward and spoke with a solemn expression. Guardian of the royal family? Jason frowned slightly, with doubts in his eyes, and spoke in a low voice. This royal guard attack is a strong man who guards the palace and the emperor of the empire. He does not join the Holy Land of the Empire, but is directly affiliated with the Emperor of the Empire and guards the Empire. Caswell explained. As a direct descendant of the Gers family, the first family in the Salem Empire, he naturally knows more about some things in the Empire than Jason and the others. A strong man who specializes in protecting the royal family and the Imperial Palace? Jason's eyes darkened, already understanding what Caswell was saying. Jason, why don't we join forces to kill the Oldman for Cassinus, and then leave here? Don't get too entangled with those people, otherwise, if time drags on for a long time, things will easily go wrong. On the side, Lon Yugusin suggested speaking up. Indeed, if the guess is correct, when we took action against many holy hands, the news of our attack on the Holy Land of the Kamikaze Empire has probably reached Holy Lord Cumberbatch and the others. Knowing the news here, they will definitely do their best. Come here, if we don't leave in time, we may be found by the other party, and in that case, we will be in danger. Wayne also spoke from the side. Jason looked at everyone, and then at Cassinus, who was confronting Oldman and looking crazy. A glimmer of light flashed in his eyes, and he already had a decision in his heart. Cassinus, I leave this Oldman to you to deal with, just deal with it. Jason spoke to Cassinus, and then to Lanuigusan and others, everyone, let's take care of Cassinus. Cenas blocks those so-called royal guardians. As soon as he finished speaking, Jason turned into a stream of light and took the lead in flying towards the 5 figures that were rumbling towards him. Let's go. After Lanuigusan and others saw Jason's actions, they didn't hesitate at all, they all followed closely and charged forward. Humph, you didn't retreat when you saw us, you actually dared to charge forward, it's simply courting death. The 2 leading strong men couldn't help but sneer when they saw the actions of Jason and others. One of them had a giant hammer with flashing lightning in his hand. On the giant hammer, there were many profound and mysterious rules. Flow, the terrifying lightning flashes, directly tearing the void, aiming at Jason's location, it hits hard with a hammer. Boom! A huge roar sounded, and with one hammer blow, the entire void space was filled with thunder, and thunder light filled the air, as if it had turned into a thunder pool, and the void was constantly shattering. Haha, die! The big man smiled wildly, and struck down hard with the giant hammer in his hand. On the other side of the void, Jason's eyes were also flashing, and the black heavy sword in his hand came forward fiercely. Boom! Amidst the huge roar, 2 terrifying spiritual powers collided in the void, and an indescribable force suddenly spread out. Yuan-Shu thunder let out bursts of explosions, and the black Yu armor on Jason's body on the ground, cracks suddenly appeared, and the whole person was thrown heavily into the air under this terrible force. The terrible thunder pool surged, boiling and surging like a vast ocean, and the monstrous thunder and lightning was like a flood that burst a bank, swarmed up and washed over Jason's body. Wow! Thunder surged, the world collapsed, and Jason was directly swallowed up by the monstrous thunder, completely submerged. Jason, seeing this scene, Lanuigusan and others behind Jason roared with worry. They did not expect that this strong man who rushed out from the capital of the Kamikaze Empire was so powerful. Strong, in one move, Jason, the strongest among them all, was also difficult to resist. Moreover, the opponent's thunder attribute also made Lanuigusan, who was a water and wood element, and Wayne, who was an ice element, feel slightly wary. On the Stern continent, the thunder system is a special system. Among its attributes, it has inexplicable and terrifying mysteries. It has certain restraint on any other attributes. Ordinary spiritual masters have no resistance at all. Haha, is this the Jason who killed the spiritual masters Elder Taladamandes and Elder Salskjer in the Kilo province? Does he only have this strength? The big man defeated Jason with one move, a maniacal laugh suddenly burst out from his mouth. Boom! However, before his laughter could subside, an extremely terrifying roaring sound suddenly erupted from the monstrous thunder pool. Thunder light suddenly surged up all over the sky, and then exploded. Among them, a figure, rising slowly, holding a black épée, his eyes were full of coldness as he stared at the big man opposite. What? Seeing this scene, the big man couldn't help but be shocked, while Lanuigusan and others showed excitement on their faces. Judging from the aura exuding from Jason's body at this moment, the big man's previous blow didn't seem to cause much harm to Jason at all. Only this little strength? A sneer appeared at the corner of Jason's mouth. With this little strength, I can kill you. Whoops. After the words fell, Jason suddenly turned into a black afterimage, and the black weight in his hand, the sword slammed down hard on the big man's head desperately. Boom. After Jason's hard-fought blow, a black light suddenly burst out from the black heavy sword, like the eyes of the god of death, descending into the world with the aura of destruction. The big man immediately raised the giant hammer in his hand and faced it fiercely. The black épée and the giant thunderhammer collided fiercely in the void. The figure of the big man who hurriedly responded suddenly retreated in the void, his face turned pale. Die. However, at the moment when the big man was repelled by Jason, another 9th-level intermediate Holy Spirit Master, whose speed was second only to that big man, suddenly appeared in his hand with a flaming sword, his eyes like it turned into 2 rounds of scorching sun, aimed at Jason's location, and struck with a knife. He actually wanted to take advantage of the moment when the two were fighting to sneak attack Jason. Bang! The black heavy sword in Jason's hand flew up like lightning and collided with the flame sword. The terrifying fire spiritual power exploded instantly, and the astonishing breath of flame spread out. The flames containing principles directly burned holes in the void. Poof! Jason's figure retreated violently in the void, and a trace of blood involuntarily overflowed from the corner of his mouth. Although Jason is strong, he is only an 8th-level peak Emperor spiritual master after all. If one person fights against a 9th-level intermediate spiritual master, Jason will not be afraid at all. But facing 2 9th-level intermediate spiritual masters, Jason will find it difficult. Cope with it. Moi wounded Jason with one move, and without any pause, Moi slashed at Jason with the flaming sword in his hand again. At the same time, Rachel, the big man who was forced back by Jason, also recovered. The giant hammer flashing with lightning danced, and the tiny shadows of countless spiritual beasts circulated and emerged around the giant hammer, enveloping it. An astonishing aura of spiritual power struck Jason's head. With one knife and one hammer, the two of them actually wanted to take advantage of Jason's injury and work together to kill him. In the sky, astonishing spiritual energy boiled the flame sword, the thunder hammer. Taking advantage of Jason's injury and retreat, they blasted at Jason at the same time, trying to kill him with one move. At the moment when the two men's weapons were about to hit Jason's head. It doesn't matter if there are more people bullying the less people. A cold voice suddenly sounded in the ears of Rachel and Moi. Not far away, following closely behind Jason, Wayne and Lan Yuigusan, both of whom rushed over, took action boldly. Boom! Boom! 2 terrifying attacks, containing monstrous principles, were aimed at the two of them from 2 directions. In Wayne's hand, the transparent, ice crystal dream spirit sword fell down like lightning, and a dazzling blue sword light flew directly from the dream spirit sword and struck hard at Moi. Wherever the blue sword light containing astonishing ice spiritual power passed, a black space hole was torn out of the void like paper. Snowflakes were floating in the sky, and the entire void was under this astonishing cold air. Next, they all froze directly, and then exploded and shattered into pieces. As for Rachel, a water column and a vine were constantly intertwined, exuding astonishing mysteries from each other, merging with each other, and blasting directly towards Rachel's location. Damn it! Seeing that his weapon was about to land on top of Jason's head and kill him, at this critical moment, these 2 attacks suddenly appeared, and the 2 people's minds flashed at the same time. There was a deep sense of crisis, and an angry roar came from his mouth. In the crisis, the 2 of them didn't care to take action against Jason, and each swung their weapons towards the attacks of Wayne and Lan Yuigusan. Boom! Boom! Astonishing explosions resounded in the sky. Wayne's attack was split by Moi's sword, but the flames on Moir's sword became even stronger under the attack of Wayne's mangling sword. Much weaker. On the other side, Lan Yuigusan's attack was also shattered by Rachel with a hammer. Water vapor and sawdust were scattered all over the sky. Among them, thunder light flashed. Lan Yuigusan and Rachel each retreated, with their faces covered. He looked a little pale, and Lan Yuigusan's body trembled slightly. Lan Yuigusan took action with anger, and Rachel hurriedly responded. However, in the end, Lan Yuigusan not only failed to take advantage, but was even slightly inferior. In terms of attributes, Rachel, who is of the thunder element, restrains the blue-eared Gusan, who is of the water and wood elements, in every aspect. However, just as the 2 of them were repelling the attacks of Wayne and Lan Yuigusan, Jason, who had been jointly attacked by the 2 before, suddenly took action. The 5 elements, the cycle of life and death. 5 divine lights of various colors suddenly bloomed from the black heavy sword in Jason's hand. Metal, wood, water, and fire, the five elements attributes, bloomed into various mysterious principles, and blasted towards Lei Chia. Air and Moyer. Boom! The colorful rainbow was like a divine light that destroyed the world, and it directly hit the two of them, causing successive explosions on the surface of their bodies. Rachel and Moy both groaned, retreating continuously, blood surging in their chests. Jason, are you okay? Wayne and Lanue Goosen came to Jason's side, looking at the two people facing them solemnly, and asked with concern. Is there something wrong with you? Jason smiled calmly. In the void, the eyes of Jason and Rachel collided fiercely, each of them bursting with endless killing intent. Boom! The next moment, the 5 figures were fighting fiercely together again. At the same time, Renaud, Monica, Caswall, and Edmez also arrived, and fought fiercely with the 3 9th-level low-level Holy Spirit Masters from Rachel's side who arrived shortly after. Together. For a moment, the color of the sky and the earth changed, and the entire sky was constantly collapsing under the terrifying battles of everyone. Every time they fought, a piece of the sky would surely collapse. When Jason and others stopped Rachel and others, on the other side, Cassinus and Oldman were fighting fiercely. Each of the two people tried their best, without any slightest regard or carelessness. This was a battle of life and death. One of the two people must fall either alive or dead. Although Jason's side fought with more people and the battle was more intense, in terms of brutality, it was Cassinus and Oldman who were more ferocious. Cassinus, who had harbored hatred for more than 20 years, was completely angry. He knew that as a 9th-level low-level Holy Spirit Master, he could successfully fight against ordinary 9th-level intermediate Holy Spirit Masters with his amazing talent. It's a tie, but if you want to kill a 9th-level intermediate Holy Spirit Master by yourself, it is simply impossible to rely on ordinary combat. Therefore, every time Cassinus attacks, he is desperate and puts his own life and death behind. He does not seek to protect himself, but only seeks to kill the enemy, fighting for his wounds and risking his life. Pfft! Blood was flying in the air. Under Cassinus's attack, wounds suddenly appeared on Lord Oldman's body. And because of this desperate act, his body was covered with wounds. A mess. Death, I want you to die. Cassinus roared up to the sky, his eyes were red and his expression was crazy. He did not avoid Oldman's attack, and the long sword in his heart kept swinging down. Every time with one thrust of the sword, a large gap would open in the void and swallow up Oldman. At the beginning, Oldman fought head-on with Cassinus, but after discovering that Cassinus only wanted to kill the enemy and hurt both sides, Oldman suddenly changed his strategy. Under Cassinus's crazy attack, Oldman retreated continuously, not caring about his sharpness. His figure seemed to have turned into a pervasive wind, avoiding Cassinus' attack. Oldman knew that if he continued to fight Cassinus, he might even fall in the end. Oldman, if you have the guts, don't hide. Fight me openly. Because Oldman only avoided, Cassinus was furious and let out an angry roar. Haha, Cassinus, come on, kill me. Back then, I was the one who killed your entire clan, so what's the point? It's ridiculous for you to think you can kill me now. Oldman laughed crazily, constantly irritating Cassinus. As a 9th-level intermediate wind-based Holy Spirit Master, in terms of hiding from husbands, ordinary Holy Spirit Masters could not match him. Cassinus could no longer, no matter how talented he is only a 9th-level low-level Holy Spirit Master. It is extremely rare to be able to compete with the average 9th-level intermediate Holy Spirit Master. However, if he wants to kill Oldman alone, he has more than enough ambition but not enough strength. Ah! After hearing Oldman's words, Cassinus looked even crazier. He desperately activated the spiritual power in his body. The spiritual power of the light and dark systems was like two black and white scorching suns, constantly rotating, destroying everything. Amazing spiritual power blasted out from Cassinus's hands, trying to kill the Oldman. But as a wind-type Holy Spirit Master, Oldman didn't resist Cassian's attack at all. He just used his own attributes to escape with one life. No matter how strong Cassian's attack was, he couldn't hit anyone, also useless. Boom. 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 Amazing explosions continued to resound in the sky. Cassian's continued to attack crazily, like a madman, but he was rarely able to attack Odd, who was just running away. Man. Haha, Cassian's, you've gone too far. Don't you want revenge? I'm in front of you now, and you can stand up to me. While escaping, Oldman laughed wildly. Ah. Inyang life and death battle, life and death mystery, Inyang rotation, life and death are determined by fate. Cassian's suddenly let out an extremely angry roar, and the black and white light on his body continued to flow, suddenly brightening, astonishing. His body was constantly gushing out from his body, his skin was red, and drops of blood were oozing from deep in his pores. His expression was extremely crazy, and he slashed at Oldman with a sword. However, Oldman, who felt Cassian's powerful attack, did not resist at all. He just ran away desperately and avoided Cassian's attack. Boom! The long sword slashed into the void, and the void was destroyed directly, creating a huge space hole. Ripples of black and white colors rippled along the middle of the explosion, covering a radius of 1 kilometer around it, and at the same time it spread Oldman, who was evading like crazy. Pfft! Oldman's body trembled for a while, and blood suddenly spurted out of his mouth. Just being swept away by the aftermath, Oldman suffered a lot of trauma, and Cassian's was even more unbearable. He was breathing heavily, his breath was undulating, and his body was dripping with blood. The previous blow was obviously it consumed a lot of spiritual energy in his body and also caused him a lot of trauma. Haha, Cassian's, come and kill me. Looking at you, you probably don't even have the strength to lift a sword. Oldman wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and laughed crazily, but despite his face extremely arrogant, but full of fear in his heart, Cassian's power was hard for him to accept for a moment. In Oldman's original imagination, Jason and the others, who were all 9th-level low-level Holy Spirit Masters, had killed Elders Radamandes and Salskjer in the Kilo province, but that was just the way it was. Strength, but now, there are 3 9th-level intermediate Holy Spirit Masters and 3 9th-level low-level Holy Spirit Masters on our side. However, under such circumstances, our own side has not yet killed the opponent. Instead, depending on the situation, no matter which side it was, Jason's side had the advantage, which filled Oldman's heart with fear. However, during the crazy escape, Oldman did not have any worries in his heart, because he knew that Lord Cumberbatch and the others had already received the news and were rushing back here. When Lord Cumberbatch arrived, it would be Jack Sen and their doomsday. Ah! Cassian's roared crazily when he saw Oldman running away, but he was helpless. This can't go on like this. Not far away, Jason, who was fighting with Rachel and Moyer, suddenly couldn't help but frown. The next moment, an idea floated in his mind. Yes, let's do it. Jason gritted his teeth and made a decision in his heart. Seeing that the two sides were at a stalemate, and the battle was inextricable, Jason finally made a decision in his heart. Whoosh! Jason, who was originally fighting fiercely with Leaper and others, suddenly retreated. The next moment, a potion bottle exuding an astonishing elixir scent appeared in his hand. As soon as the potion bottle appeared, the woman's room was filled with rich elixir essence. The rich spiritual power of light and dark elements soared into the sky from the potion bottle, transforming into black and white in the sky. Lingyun. This is a bottle of 8th level Emperor level spiritual potion, and it is also an Emperor level spiritual potion of both light and dark systems. With the appearance of this bottle of 8th level Emperor level elixir, Jason shook his left hand again, and 2 black and white fruits about the size of a fist suddenly appeared in his hand. As soon as these 2 fruits appeared in the air, all the spiritual energy in the sky boiled. They were 2 fruits that were pure white and dark. They were not big and emitted a faint light and bursts of fragrant fragrance. continuously diffused from the two fruits, transforming into the breath of Taoism in the void. This is exactly the ninth level elixir, holy fruit of light and holy fruit of darkness, that Jason obtained on the 7-star island in the 7-star sea forbidden area. When Jason was on 7-star island, he got 3 of each kind of holy fruit. The same goes for the holy fruit of light and the holy fruit of darkness. Among them, one of the 3 holy fruits of light was given to Moni. Casinus took the other one, and gave it to Casinus, and stabbed another one out. As for the holy fruit of darkness, Casinus only used one, so he shot 2 more. Originally, Jason was planning to prepare the 9th level holy elixir for Sophia, who was still in the elixir tower. But now, in order to help Casinus defeat the oldman, Jason I can't control that much anymore. Only by formulating a 9th level holy level elixir could Casinus have the absolute strength to kill Lord Oldman with his own hands. Jason exited the battlefield, and in an instant he took out a bottle of Emperor level elixir with a price tag, and then took out 2 9th level holy fruits. Finally, several more elixirs exuding amazing auras appeared in his hand. What? In the sky, after seeing Jason's actions, Rachel and others showed surprise on their faces. Does he want to prepare the elixir during this battle? Suddenly, a person who might be in everyone in the Kamikaze Empire became nervous as they felt the amazing elemental laws transmitted by Hua from the 2 holy fruits. Although in Rachel's view, Jason's preparation of elixirs in battle was unreliable, everyone could also imagine that since Jason dared to do so at such a dangerous moment, he must have a certain degree of confidence. Dare to take action. When Rachel and others were shocked, Jason's eyes suddenly erupted with a ball of 5-colored light, and his whole body started to move. His figure disappeared in the next moment and turned into a gust of wind, wrapping all the elixirs in front of him. His fingers were directly placed on the 2 9th level holy fruits and many elixirs. Boom! Bang! Bang! Continuous explosions resounded throughout the world, and the 2 9th level holy fruits and many elixirs exploded directly, turning into the heavenly elixir essence and astonishing mysterious laws. Jason's body, without any pause, the shape continuously controlled the essence of those elixirs and poured them into the bottle of priceless light and dark emperor-level elixirs. Boom! For a time, the world was filled with amazing elixir elements. These the elixir elements can become angry dragons, tigers, rivers, or birds, full of violent aura and shocking the world. However, under Jason's control, these elixir elements exuding terrifying auras it was easily instilled by Jason into the bottle of Emperor-level elixir, and it quickly merged with the 8th-level Emperor-level elixir. What? So Jason actually started formulating it? In the sky, Rachel and others who were fighting with Lan Yu Gusen and the others were shocked. They had just made guesses before, but they didn't expect that Jason actually started to prepare it, and the amazing breath of the elixir, Rachel and others were filled with trembling in their hearts. Although they were not elixir masters, as 9th-level intermediate elixir masters, they had seen many preparations made by 8th-level elixir emperor masters. For 8th-level emperor elixir masters, the aura emitted by the potion was naturally very familiar. Now, they felt the aura of the 8th-level imperial elixir from the bottle of elixir Jason took out earlier, and the 9th-level elixir that Jason took out on top of the holy fruit. They also felt the terrifying aura that only 9th-level items possess. Integrating the 9th-level elixir into the 8th-level emperor-level elixir, what exactly did Jason want to prepare? Spiritual potion? The 8th-level peak imperial-level spiritual potion? As soon as this thought came out, Rachel and the others couldn't help but tremble. No, we can't let Jason prepare it anymore, no matter what Jason wants to prepare. No matter whether he can really prepare the elixir or not, we must stop him. There must be no accidents before Holy Lord Cumberbatch arrives. During the battle, Rachel and Moyer looking at each other, a trace of sternness flashed in their eyes. Whoosh whoosh, the 2 master spiritual lights bloomed and they rushed towards Jason's location. Your opponent is us. However, before they could rush out of the battlefield, 2 cold voices sounded and 2 figures appeared in front of them like lightning. A biting cold air and wood vines wrapped around them like lightning came and stopped the two of them. It was Lanuigusan and Wayne. Kagui, Rachel and Moi waved the warhammers and swords in their hands, directly shaking away the cold ice blades and vines, and in their mouths they roared, and the two looked at each other. Get out of here. Both people roared at the same time. Boom! Terrible power rose from the two bodies. Rachel and Moi's spiritual power was suddenly released, and a bolt of thunder and fire shot up from the top of their heads like lightning, one after another. Both of them shouted angrily, raising the weapons in their hands high. The purple sky, divine thunder of the thunder element. The melting pot of heaven and earth of the fire element. On the warhammer in Rachel's hand, there was a purple divine light rising into the sky, and the thunder light was shining brightly as it went. The terrifying thunder tore through the void and struck down mercilessly at the Blue Moon Ancient Senior. On the side, on the sword in Moi's hand, a flame containing extreme temperature was also burning continuously, burning the void, and large holes appeared. A huge furnace burning with the shadow of flames appeared in the void. The terrifying temperature seemed to completely refine the world and burn it into nothingness. Two shocking attacks were aimed at the locations of Lanuigusan and Wayne, respectively. Humph! Lanuigusan and Wayne snorted coldly, without any fear in their eyes, waving their weapons and facing them desperately. Wood cutting in the water of the secret of water and wood polar light of the ice element out of Jianyugusan and Wayne also exuded extremely terrifying auras from their bodies. A magnolia swaying in the void, and a blue light that froze the heaven and earth, respectively greeted the purple thunder and the flame furnace. In the void, a warhammer flashing with purple thunder collided with a spiritual staff that bloomed with the shadow of a magnolia. Boom! The magnolia tree, exuding the aura of water and wood, under the bombardment of purple thunder, emitted a misty light, trembled continuously, and then exploded with a bang. Pfft! Lanuigusan spurted out from his mouth blood, his whole face turned pale, and he retreated violently. On the other side, a sword that transformed into a flame furnace and an ice sword that bloomed with blue aurora also collided fiercely. Boom! In the huge roar, two completely opposite forces spread out, and the void collapsed layer by layer, and then naturally opened and closed, and repaired. With the amplitude of the heaven-level middle-grade dream spirit sword obtained from the death maze in his hand, Wayne and Namoi fought to a draw. In a powerful confrontation, only Lanuigusan was slightly injured due to the suppression of his attributes. However, the other three people could not tell the winner at all, and Lanuigusan's the injury had little impact on the outcome of the battle. Bastard saw Jason making preparations not far away, but he was unable to repel Lanuigusan and Wayne to stop Jason. With the preparation, Rachel and Moi looked at each other and suddenly became anxious. The next moment, they both retreated from the battle, looking at Lanuigusan with cold eyes. And Wayne, and then the two of them actually took out a bottle of elixir that exuded an astonishing aura of elixir from their bodies at the same time. A touch of emperor-level majesty was conveyed from the elixir in their hands. These were 2 bottles of 8th-level emperor elixir. Level elixir, and judging from the imperial pressure emitted by these 2 bottles of elixir, they are still 2 bottles of 8th-grade high-grade imperial elixir. Even though the 8th-level emperor elixir is extremely rare on the mainland, it is a priceless treasure, but as 9th-level Holy Spirit masters, they were not without it. As soon as these 2 bottles of emperor-level spiritual potions exuding the light of death appeared, the 2 of them drank them violently. Although Rachel and the others, as 9th-level spiritual masters, the Holy Spirit Master has a noble status in the Kamikaze Empire and has a lot of resources, but the 8th-level high-grade Emperor-level elixir is also something they can only meet but cannot ask for. In the original plan of the 2, as long as they stopped Jason, they can just wait for Holy Lord Cumberbatch to come back. There is no need to take the elixir at all and waste the elixir they finally got. But in this case, they have no choice but to take it out. Look. Why are you stopping me now? Rachel and Moi snorted coldly, and an indescribable powerful force continued to rise from his body. At this moment, the two of them seemed to be possessed by demons, charging arrogantly at Lanuig Gusen and Wayne. Come. Seeing the arrogance of Rachel and Moy after taking the elixir, Lanuig Gusen and Wayne looked at each other, with a hint of coldness flashing in their eyes. Everyone is taking the elixir, and we must not let them affect Jason's preparation. Otherwise, when Cumberbatch and the others from the Kamikaze Empire arrive, we will really fall here. Lanuig Gusen said coldly. Drink. As her words fell, a bottle of elixir exuding terrifying spiritual power fluctuations appeared in the hands of Lanuig Gusen and Wayne. Not only the two of them, but on the side, Renaud, Caswall, Monica and Edmes, who were fighting inextricably with 3 other 9th-level low-level Holy Spirit Masters, also each had a bottle of elixir in their hands. An elixir with an amazing aura came to attack the Holy Land of the Kamikaze Empire. Although Jason and the others felt that there was no danger, they were not prepared. Before the attack, Jason prepared a bottle of spirit suitable for everyone. Potion used during battle. Without any hesitation, everyone swallowed the elixir in their hands. A terrifying aura suddenly burst out from everyone's bodies. What? Seeing this scene, Rachel, Moy and others, who were extremely arrogant before, were all stunned. And at this moment, one by one, there was a rumble. A dazzling light appeared in the sky, and the 20 elements of the light and dark dual systems in the entire sky became violent at this moment. Countless light and dark dual system laws, like long rivers, began to flow from the potion in front of Jason. The water washed up from the bottle, forming a thick cloud of law calamity in the sky. The terrible pressure spread across the world, making people feel insignificance and fear from deep in their hearts. In the sky, the black and white ocean of spiritual energy is constantly surging, like a vast ocean of yin and yang. In the ocean, mysterious laws of light and dark elements are constantly flowing, giving people an extremely palpitating feeling. This is the power of the Great Road. Coercion, covering up everything. 2 colored clouds, one black and one white, continued to gather in the sky, and the pressure continued to drop. At this moment, the sky, which was originally bright and sunny, seemed to have entered the dark night. Is this the calamity of heaven and earth caused by the 8th-level Emperor-level spiritual potion? Why do I feel so terrible? My soul is trembling. At this moment, whether it is Rachel and other 9th-level Holy Spirit Masters, or the Holy Land, the countless saints and disciples in the crowd all had expressions of horror on their faces, and fear rose deep in their hearts. Not only them, but hundreds of miles away in the Kamikaze Empire's capital, the shocking battle over the Holy Land, and the terrifying aura as if doomsday were coming, had long made countless people hide in their homes in fear, watching from a distance. However, at this moment, the 9th-level saint level, the legal calamity when the spiritual potion was formed still shocked them all. The 2 elements of light and dark are like torrents, constantly rising and falling in the sky like sea water, forming a sea of spiritual energy. In the ocean, the mysterious laws of light and dark flow and evolve, making people unable to think at all. A disobedient heart. Go to the forest. Seeing this scene in the distance, Lanuig Gusen's mouth was full of joy, and there was surprise and worry in his eyes. Surprisingly, the preparation of the 9th-level light and dark saint-level spiritual potion was successful, and Cassinus had enough strength to kill the Lord Oldman. What was worrying was that the 9th-level law catastrophe was different from ordinary, quite, with a 9th-level Holy Spirit Master attacking with all his strength, and under the strength of Rachel and others, everyone can barely resist now. If there is such a catastrophe of laws, once Jason is unable to support it, then everyone is likely to it will collapse across the board. Jason, you go to overcome the law of heavenly tribulation, and we will stop Rachel and the others. At this moment, Lanuig Gusen couldn't help shouting. They had already decided in their hearts that they would stop Rachel even if they died. They bought time for Jason to overcome the tribulation. However, just as Lanuig Gusen and others were shouting nervously, they saw Jason not far away, holding the 9th-level holy medicine and standing under the law of heavenly calamity. After hearing their words, a strange look suddenly bloomed at the corner of his mouth. Smile. Lanuigusan, Wayne, Father, everyone, please get out of the way and let me deal with Rachel and the others. You go and surround Oldman to prevent him from escaping. Jason said indifferently. Drink, and then the whole person suddenly flew towards where Rachel and others were. This after hearing Jason's words, Lanuigusan and others were stunned. On the side, the 5 Rachels who were brazenly confronting them widened their eyes as if they had seen a ghost, with disbelief in their eyes. What? When Jason faced such a terrifying medical calamity, he didn't concentrate on fighting the medical calamity, but he actually wanted to kill us. Couldn't this kid have a brain convulsion? Rachel waited. The people looked at each other, with doubts in their hearts. But the next moment, Lungwu appeared on their faces. Jason, since you want to die, then we will help you. Rachel sneered, and Moy and 3 other 9th-level holy spirits, the teachers looked at each other, and the 5 of them rushed towards Jason's location. On the side, Lanuigusan and Wayne wanted to stop him, but they were used to taking Jason's orders. After hesitating for a moment, they did not move in the end. After experiencing so many things, they had already unconditionally believed in Jason. They believed that what Jason did must have its own meaning. Jason, I'll kill you today. Rachel and others shouted coldly and rushed towards Jason with murderous intent. Really, kill me? I don't think so, let me send you on the road together. Jason laughed. Rumble. Just as Jason laughed loudly, a deafening roar resounded throughout the world, and the law-heavy catastrophe that had been condensed for a long time finally came at this moment. The law avenue of the dual elements of light and darkness descended from the sky with an unparalleled torrent of spiritual power, annihilating this place all of a sudden. This was a sea of law and calamity. The endless elemental breath and the torrent of laws completely flooded the world. This was no longer a single blade of laws, but a sea of laws. Nothing existed anymore, everything was submerged by the ocean of laws, and it was dazzling. Even the powerful people in the imperial capital hundreds of miles away could feel the irresistible power of destruction. Not to mention, the people who are under the catastrophe and overcoming the tribulation are in black and white chaos. They feel suffocated even from many miles away, which makes people tremble. Heartrending screams were heard immediately. Rachel, Moy, and the other 3 9th-level Holy Spirit Masters from the Kamikaze Empire were all in the midst of a catastrophe. Countless laws of light and darkness fell from the sky. The sky dropped and bombarded everyone. Because they were too close, they were identified by the law tribulation as those who wanted to save the elixir and were ruthlessly killed. What kind of medicine calamity is this? Is it a 9th-level law-based calamity? But you are obviously an Emperor Spiritual Master at the peak of the 8th level. The screams resounded in the sky, and during the calamity, Lachia all of you held in pain. Under the bombardment of the dual laws of light and darkness, their bodies continued to tremble, their faces showed pain, and their mouths screamed out. They were not spiritual medicine masters, and they had no preparation team at all. The power of this medicine calamity was so terrifying that even 9th-level Holy Spirit Masters such as them could not withstand it. At the beginning, they thought they were the 8th-level peak spiritual masters. The Emperor's spiritual master, Jason, could prepare at most the 8th-order peak Emperor-level elixir. However, after feeling such a terrifying legal attack from this legal calamity, they had not guessed that what Jason prepared was the 9th-level holy elixir. As for the super spirit potion, then they are 2 idiots. However, according to their understanding, the 9th-level law calamity should not be so terrible. After all, in history, many 9th-level holy spiritual potions were successfully prepared and were handled by 9th-level Holy Spirit Masters. That law of heavenly tribulation, and as 9th-level intermediate Holy Spirit Masters, they would find it difficult, but they would not be unable to withstand it. But now, the terrifying law of heavenly tribulation caused by Jason was far beyond their imagination. As a 9th-level intermediate Holy Spirit Master, Rachel and the others can still resist the ninth-level torrent of spiritual power of the dual system of light and darkness. Rachel and the others will not be unable to withstand the ninth-level law of the dual system of light and dark, but except for in addition, Rachel and the others, who are ninth-level intermediate Holy Spirit masters, cannot withstand the soul attacks attached to the dual elements of light and darkness. Every time the heavenly calamity fell, Rachel and Moy suffered heavy soul attacks. The terrible attacks came directly to the source of the soul, causing them great pain and no ability to resist. Behind Rachel and Moy, the other three low-level Holy Spirit masters of the ninth level were even more unbearable. They were rolling in the sky one by one, trying to escape from the scope of the catastrophe, but they were screaming in agony, all over their bodies. He kept twitching and convulsing, and he didn't even have the strength to escape. Haha. During the law calamity, Jason was like a demon god, letting out a hearty laugh. When Jason was on 7-Star Island, preparing the 9th level holy elixir for Cassinus to be promoted to the 9th level Holy Spirit Master, he was deeply aware of the terrifying calamity of this dual system of light and dark laws. Even those with a 9th level peak soul Jason, who was on the verge of death under that terrible soul attack, almost failed to withstand it. Now Rachel and the others, who are only at the 9th level of low and intermediate levels, how could they withstand it? When Jason prepared this light and dark dual system holy elixir for Cassinus before, on the one hand, it was so that Cassinus could kill Oldman with his own hands after taking it, and on the other hand, it was also because of this. This is his killer copper. Unlike other spiritual skills, only he can perform it, and only a holy level spiritual potion of both light and dark elements can have this effect. This time, Jason will use this law to kill all 5 Rachels. In the sky above the holy land of the Kamikaze Empire, the terrifying spiritual elements of light and darkness turned into an undulating tide and ocean, completely annihilating everything. The place was boiling. Rachel and the others inside were holding on tightly, shouting in pain. How many people could carry this kind of disaster to heaven and earth? No one thought that Jason would use such a method. Even Lan Yugusan and the others were stunned, their expressions twitching, looking at the terrifying void that seemed to have turned into a sea of elements, with cold hair standing on their bodies, far away. Many of them can feel the irresistible force of destruction. In the distance, the battle between Cassinus and Oldman had stopped a long time ago. The two looked at this place, dumbfounded, especially when Lord Oldman saw how Rachel and others were in the catastrophe. After looking in pain, his face looked as ugly as his dead parents. Boom! The torrent of 10,000 feet flooded no one knows how much void, black and white chaos stretched into the sky, and every inch of space was filled with torrents of elements and blades of law, which was extremely frightening. The holy city of the Holy Land of the Kamikaze Empire, as well as many disciples on the periphery, all looked at the catastrophe that almost destroyed everything in shock, and felt trembling from the deepest part of their hearts. Fortunately, Jason did not choose to survive the tribulation in the Holy Land. Otherwise, only the disciples of the 8th level Emperor Spiritual Master and even the 7th level Emperor Spiritual Master would have no ability to withstand such a catastrophe. If the calamity bomb falls, it will annihilate a large area of the mountain range and cause countless casualties. In the void, Jason stood proudly in the center of the tribulation, like a peerless demon god. Boom! The terrifying torrent, containing endless soul pressure, fell from the sky and fell on this space. The void continued to twist, and everything ceased to exist, destroying everything. You are a 9th level low-level Holy Spirit Master who had not lost in the previous battle with Caswall looked at Jason and shouted. His whole body was enveloped by the torrent, and his whole body was shaking continuously, fiercely. The confrontation can't even be fully explained. It's too painful for you. Don't you want to kill me? I think there is no chance, so let me send you on your way. With a sneer at the corner of Jason's mouth, he pushed forward step by step. At this moment, he is the center of the heavenly tribulation and the source of the violence. The endless heavenly tribulation is directed at the ninth level Holy Spirit potion on his body. Once he moves around, it is really an ocean, like a tsunami. The ninth level low-level Holy Spirit Master shouted. He was trembling and wanted to lift the long sword in his hand, but he could not complete such a simple action. He couldn't stop such a catastrophe. His soul was torn into pieces, every inch of flesh and blood was scorched, and his consciousness began to blur. Weren't you very arrogant before? Why are you like this now? Jason stepped closer. He was also fighting against Zedianji, but with his ninth level peak soul, ninth level intermediate body, and that confrontation after experiencing countless ninth level catastrophes, I can still withstand it. Yu, the ninth level low-level Holy Spirit Master, was a middle-aged man. When he saw Jason approaching, his eyes suddenly showed panic. He wanted to say something, but he was trying his best to resist the catastrophe. He couldn't say anything. He could only look at Jason in horror. In such a torrent, even every breath he took in was a huge amount. Light and dark spiritual elements. Seeing you in so much pain, I really can't bear it, let me send you on your way. Jason stopped talking nonsense and swung the black épée in his hand like lightning, like waving a straw. It was light and seemed to have no power at all. Bang! The black heavy sword pierced the opponent's forehead like lightning, and terrible power burst out from it and directed into the opponent's forehead. With a bang, the person exploded, and bones and debris were shot out randomly. Boom! The terrifying torrent of elements and the heavenly tribulation bombarded from the sky. The middle-aged man's exploded limbs were hit by the heavenly tribulation. His body and spirit were destroyed, turned into ashes, and nothing existed anymore. This is a ninth level low-level Holy Spirit Master. He was majestic before. In the battle with Caswall, they were evenly matched. There was no winner or loser. He was unparalleled. He didn't know how much time he had spent and how many setbacks he had gone through. He had reached this point and became a ninth level Holy Spirit Master. He was definitely a famous figure among the royal family of the Kamikaze Empire. However, just like this, such a character died so easily in Jason's hands just now, and his death was so painful. His body was exploded by Jason's sword without any resistance. It was jaw-dropping. My heart felt cold. This is a ninth level low-level Holy Spirit Master. He is the most powerful in the mainland. He is not an ordinary spirit master that can be seen anywhere. However, he is easily killed like a chicken without even the ability to resist. None. During the catastrophe, when Rachel and others saw this scene, their hearts trembled. Their eyes widened and their mouths opened wide. At that moment, they also thought about stepping forward to stop Jason, but they had no intention of doing so. Powerless. Under the bombardment of this light and dark calamity, even they themselves are struggling to support themselves, and how can they have the energy to care about others at this moment? On the other side, a ninth level low-level Holy Spirit Master couldn't bear it anymore before Jason could take action. He screamed in agony. His skin was torn all over, his bones were white, and his flesh and blood smelled scorching. In fact, in this catastrophe, the biggest threat to them was the impact on the soul from the light and darkness, which directly attacked the origin of their soul. However, the negative effect of the attack on the soul was that the terrible impact made them one by one. With a vague will and no concentration, it is difficult to stop the spiritual power in the body from blocking the laws of light and darkness and the torrent of elements, leading to a series of collapses. Weren't you very arrogant before? When you fought against my father, your power was unstoppable. It's a pity that you are going to die now. Jason came to the ninth level low-level Holy Spirit Master and swung the black heavy sword in his hand again. Ruthlessly chop it down on the opponent's head, and the terrifying spiritual power spurts out instantly. A 5-color divine rainbow shines brightly in the black and white chaotic world. The terrifying and amazing spiritual power rushes into the opponent's body instantly, splitting the opponent into nothingness instantly. This is a murderous sea. In it, there is no way to avoid it. Everyone is submerged, struggling to support themselves, and without the slightest resistance. Ah, why is this happening? Rachel and Moy both screamed. Seeing Jason in the ocean, it was like he was in a deserted land, walking in the chaotic void, unharmed, and killing people constantly. They were desperate. Killing a 9th level low-level Holy Spirit Master with one sword, what kind of strength is this? Looking at the entire continent, I am afraid that only a few people such as Tower Masters, City Lords, and Holy Masters from major forces may have such means and combat power. But now, Jason, who is the 8th level peak Emperor Spiritual Master, is in this calamity was achieved, and the disparity in strength made Rachel and others so depressed that they almost vomited blood. This Jason is simply a monster. Why is he, an 8th level peak Imperial Spiritual Master, able to prepare a 9th level Holy level spiritual potion? The prepared Holy level spiritual potion is still on his body. It stands to reason, he should be the main person to overcome the tribulation, but he is not afraid, but we can't bear it. What kind of elixir is this? Why is the tribulation so terrifying and has such a terrifying soul attack? Rachel and Moy cursed fiercely in their hearts and roared in pain. No one could bear such a punishment. Down below, in the Holy Land, many disciples were stunned, trembling all over, their faces pale, and cold sweat breaking out on their foreheads. Roar! In the distance, Oldman's face turned pale, and he roared angrily. The long sword in his hand suddenly burst out with blue light, and a green wind blade that was more than 10 feet long suddenly appeared in the void, trembling, cutting a terrifying space crack in the surrounding void, slashing towards Jason's location. He wanted to attack Jason to relieve Rachel and others from the crisis. Humph. However, before his attack could fly far, a cold snort sounded from the sky and the earth, and a huge vine suddenly appeared in the void, colliding with the wind blade released by Oldman like lightning. Together. Boom! Terrible airwaves rolled, and the huge vines bloomed with dazzling light. They exploded under the attack of the wind blade, turning into streams of rich wood spiritual power, and Oldman released the wind blade also exploded at the same time, turning into wind spiritual elements that filled the sky. Whoosh! 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 Several figures flew over like lightning, surrounding Oldman in the center. It was Lan Yu Gusen and others. At this time, how could they let Jason, who is at the center of Zetian tribulation, be disturbed by the outside world? Oldman looked around, looking at the 7 blue moon Gusen people who surrounded him, and felt the amazing spiritual power emanating from them. Under the sharp gazes of everyone, Oldman's face turned green at this moment. Who? During the catastrophe, Jason was like a god of death walking in the darkness, harvesting lives and walking towards the 3rd level 9 low-level Holy Spirit Master. In fact, he didn't need to take action. As long as he got there, the other party would be unable to bear it anymore. He was the center of the catastrophe and had the strongest power of destruction. As early as Jason's physical strength was at the low level of the 9th level. When he prepared the first bottle of the low-level Holy level elixir of the 9th level for Cassinus on 7-Star Island, the soul attack caused by the tribulation was at the 9th level. Jason, who was at the peak of his soul, couldn't bear it anymore. Now, Jason's physical strength has already been upgraded to the 9th level intermediate level. The bottle of Holy Spirit potion he prepared before is even better than the original bottle in terms of grade, and the disaster it caused will naturally be more severe. It is powerful. Unless you are a 9th level advanced Holy Spirit Master, ordinary Holy Spirit Masters cannot bear it at all.